Now we're going to have two amazing speakers, and I'm going to pass on the bios just to make sure we make the most of the time. But we got Chip Clark here that has been working for 15, 20 plus years in nonprofit serving underserved people in the community. He's been working for City Life and then now for a church leading worship. And then we've got Andre Beasley, who's been also working in education, also as an entrepreneur. He served in the Army Forces for 7 years, did a tour in Iraq. And both of them have decided to create an amazing organization called Unified Development. They have 4 partners, 2 of them here tonight. They're basically going to pitch their idea to you guys tonight. And if there are any investors in the room, please listen, because this is a great business opportunity.
In my family?
We all
Okay, yeah. All right, I'll see if there are any sea lifers up in here. I'm excited to be here with you guys today. I will say that I love this strategy. It's amazing, right? I'll tell you why it's amazing later. But you got a roster of pastors.
Oh yeah.
You guys know that. All right, so we're at 8:03. Y'all gonna hang with us for a little bit? All right.
5 minutes.
Give me cool. So I appreciate that. I'm excited about what we're doing and excited about what has been on our hearts. Right. My name is Chip Clark. I'm the CEO of Unified Developments, and this whole thing started because I got to work in the nonprofit world. And got to see what it was like to raise funds and continue to try to impact the lives of young people. And then I was in the car with a developer in the city, and he was showing me all the different things that was going to happen. It was about 3 years ago. And as he was showing me, I got so excited and scared at the same time. Like, oh, there's going to be a development. Well, who's developing? Oh, there's going to be a new restaurant. Well, what kind of restaurant? And it was like this excitement but fear. And it was in that moment I said, well, what you're doing right now is this something that you can show me. I learned fast. He said, well, Chip, this is a lot of stuff. And I said, okay, I'm ready. So I would meet with him on a regular basis, and he began to show me different things, and it was exciting to learn it. But then I knew that it was time to actually put something together. So a couple years ago, I put together Unified Developments and then began to pitch it to different people. And now it's something that is becoming a reality. And guess what? In this room, hopefully by the end of it, you will get the opportunity to join us as well. So what is it? So we simply, and I say simple very lightly, raise a lot of money to buy real estate, right? Commercial real estate. And we also do a lot of development of businesses. So that's the very simple one, and I'll give you the rest of it as we go on. He talked about Jethro. I think Jethro is pretty exciting, and it's kind of a theme today, but I understood that I couldn't do this by myself at all. I have a lot of great business sense and great business ideas, but I knew that I would have to have some trusted friends, and so we have 4 guys with us. Andre Beasley, who's right here, and he'll introduce himself a little more. David Jones, who is an amazing finance guy who does investments specifically. Jamal Robinson, who is basically, and this guy is if you ever met Jamal, you know that you've met a true entrepreneur. He does a little bit of everything, just a utility knife of entrepreneurship. But marketing is the place that he holds with us as a partner. And so, without further ado, Mr. Drake.
So Chip didn't stay on the script, but that's okay. So never do. Since we're ad-libbing, I'm ad-libbing. No. We'll get you out of here. But I'm Andre Beasley. I am partner and CEO of Unified Developments. Currently, I run a business here in Fort Wayne, but I'm also, during my day job, I develop courses for Purdue West Lafayette in the School of Business and Engineering. And so, one of the things that we talked about before all of this got going was there was a distinction early on between what Chip said in terms of communities being under-engaged, and what John had at first was under-resourced, right? And so there's been a theme kind of running throughout the night tonight in terms of Barry mentioned like how we see ourselves. We're amazing. Some days we don't feel amazing, but we are amazing. And so that terminology speaks to the potential that really can be unlocked in any part of town, right? And what I love most about tonight is that we are all image bearers of God, and we know it in this room, right? And so with that being said, we all have a purpose. We all have an assignment. Some of us may know what our assignments are, some of us may not. But what we do know is that assignment is linked to making things better for our families and our communities, right? And so we say underengaged equals untapped. We're talking about the people, the resources, the churches, the government entities. They're all doing work. There's work going on. Javier mentioned Bridge of Grace. We have Boys and Girls Club, Greater Fort Wayne, City of Fort Wayne. We have all these different organizations doing great things. Doing great things, motivating my son in the morning. We got all types of things going on throughout the city. But is there a synergy? Is there a synergy being created in a unified effort with vision, with purpose, with resources? And so that's what we're doing with unified developments.
Yeah, we believe that unified developments is the answer. So because this is a room of believers, you guys are probably like, no, Jesus is the answer. and I get that, so Jesus is the answer.
Come on, for the word
today. Okay, all right, so, but we believe it's the answer to sustainable economics and underengaged communities. And let me talk about unified for a little bit, because it's a cute word that we throw around quite a bit, right? Let's be unified. Let unity in the community, right? And the reality is when they begin to talk about unity in the Bible, when they talk about unity in the Bible, they say bear with one another, make every effort to be unified. All right, I love going to the gym, and I have when I start at the beginning of the year, I always do my max. And when I go do my max and bench this particular year, I would like to say my bench is 265. It is not. It was a lot of effort. I didn't make it. I'm so glad somebody was behind me and they got me. But it was a lot of effort. So when we talk about unity, understand that the effort that goes into it is huge, right? And it's not going to be a fly-by-night. It's not going to be something that just happens because we have an idea. It's definitely something that happens because we put the work, the time, the attention, the right people around what it takes to make things happen. And we believe that unified developments is just that. So we get the opportunity. This is our mission. We activate an ecosystem of businesses by implementing growth strategies while leveraging real estate development in underengaged communities to curb the effects of gentrification and catalyze a path to economic growth. In short, we bring communities with us. The strategy is building trust. And Drea expound on that here in just a little bit, but it's a huge piece. Building trust. If you've ever Javier going to the community, the biggest thing first is they have to be able to trust you, right? If they're going to let you in, or if they're going to be a captain on the street, they have to be able to trust you. And then raising funds for development, and then creative business engagement. Why development for us? It's for us really simple. And there's two reasons specifically, but one of those reasons is that if you look at the GDP of the United States, development is 21% of it. Trillions of dollars going into development all over the place, and we have people that talk about all the time of impacting our under-resourced communities, under-engaged communities. And development is typically what they want to bring, but not from the people in the community. And so we want that to look a little bit differently. We have a strategy to make that happen, and a part of that is building trust, raising funds, creative business engagement. The second part is just my experiential side, like the things that I've experienced being in the community. Across my table, my desk, every week it seemed like, we were always the top of some list that wasn't something to brag about. Be it infant mortality, the crime rate, and just many other things that every time it would just make my head hurt, and I would feel like I'm doing a great job, and then I say, hey, did you know that you guys are the top of this list? The list that we're not on top of is development and real estate in particular. But it is one of the ways that makes sense, right? It makes sense for it to be 21% of the GDP in the United States, and it makes sense for us to go that route for what it is that we're trying to do in this community. I had someone who told me just the other day, Chip, you are non-for-profit, you are a pastor, worship pastor. Now you're going into development, and the reality is that I understood that those numbers that they kept telling me about, and not seeing them change, and not seeing them get better, but most of the time to get worse, right? And the thing that I always knew is that the economics in our community just isn't working. And I would take kids to do internships, and they would look at me crazy because there wasn't paid internships. They looked at me crazy like, Mr. Chip, didn't I tell you that my mom doesn't have a job and we don't have food to put on the table? I can't go to this job for free. I told them it's not a job, it's an internship. All right, they look at me even more crazy. And so our goal is to bring economics to our community.
So Chip highlighted something very important. So there is an economic aspect to the investment opportunity that we have here, but there's also a spiritual aspect. Because when the potential, the untapped potential that God has placed inside each one of us is not being realized, those communities aren't experiencing the very best that God has for them. Now, we can't create this utopian society, no pun intended. But what we can do is we can move the community forward. We can move the community forward in a way that looks more like what God designed. Chip already mentioned some of the social and economic impacts that happen. And so establishing trust was a huge factor. A huge factor. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here because we don't have a whole lot of time, but these things make a huge difference in what we're doing. This is called the trust triangle. All right, and with the trust triangle, what we see here normally in economics, development, investments is you see a ton of competence. And you should. You should see a ton of competence. Guys and gals who know exactly what they're doing. They're very talented. They have experience. They have skills. They have strategies. They have vision. That is usually the key component that's focused on when we're looking at investments. Authenticity, as most of you know, is just being open and honest about what's going on. But what we've been lacking oftentimes in underengaged communities is when plans change or something falls through, there's a lack of communication. There's a lack of feedback from the community. And so we have to set those structures up in place with street captains. And so partnering with entities like Bridge of Grace and neighborhood associations that are already doing ground floor work is a part of our comprehensive strategy. Empathy is one of those things where we're actually listening to what the community needs. Now, normally you don't hear businesses talking about this, right? You just don't hear them talking about authenticity and empathy. But this will be a key component of our strategy. And at the end, we'll show you some ways that you can get in contact with us to learn more about what that actually looks like.
So every time we go into a community, we want to go big and bold. We're not talking about going in there and just making a little splash. Mm-hmm. For what we face in our community, we believe it has to be big and bold. And I will tell you the reason why is typically when I present something or I've been around other people who present something. Well, why don't you start right here? Mm-hmm. And then I see the impact maybe inch up a little bit, and then people lose their momentum, vision, the ability to continue to go forward, and it never comes to fruition. If you go online and you look at the different presentations of Southeast development, it goes all the way back to Graham Richards. Does anyone remember who that is? Right? Single, one person, right? And so it's been talked about over and over and over again, but what are we going to do about it? So what it looks like when we go into a community is we always bring 3 developments. Although we're focused on one right now, there's 3 developments. It's always going to be around $60 million investment, attracting 30 plus businesses, 60 market rate apartments or more, generating 2.5 million in annual leases. That's going to be our goal or our roadmap for any community that we go into. Obviously, we're focused here on Fort Wayne, Indiana, but we believe this is the answer for under-resourced, under-engaged communities in our region and around the world.
So as you can see here, we're not really going to get all the way into our main project that we are working on, that we're planning and going through some underwriting right now for, but it's huge. You can see it right here at the bottom. Where we're looking at, we've already identified 4 major industries that are usually lacking in under-resourced areas. So we have the grocery or the food industry. We also have health and wellness. What you don't see pictured is the financial institution and the real estate companies that will also be in this area. But there's an amazing opportunity to change the retail landscape in the under-engaged communities, but we have to set up the infrastructure to support the local businesses that are going to be in these places. Usually they're lacking capital, they're lacking administrative ability sometimes, which also leads to a lack of finances that can support those managers that can actually drive those institutions forward. So what we're doing now is we're in the process of partnering with some of the major players in our city that are already doing business consulting, establishing HR infrastructure, as well as marketing for some of the local business owners. Greater Fort Wayne, other institutions, Sharon Tucker, they're already helping young entrepreneurs, but they need more infrastructure. So Unified Developments is in the process of establishing that. And those are just some of the brief projections that we're looking at for this project right here.
So you heard him say infrastructure. That's our #1 focus right now. Infrastructure in our project that we would love to launch in the fall of 2023. What does infrastructure look like for us? We are looking to raise some serious funds. We have a small ask today, but we're looking to raise serious funds to make some things happen within our community. And then the project, raise funds. So we have an advisory team that we're looking for, and specifically on that advisory team is we've been really wanting to ensure that it's with the right people, right? If we go off with Jethro's model, you want people that can impact certain things. So we're looking for people who are experienced in private equity, looking for individuals who are experienced in REIT and experienced in real estate development to be on that advisory team. And so if you're that person in this room, or if you know someone, we would love to meet them. So our current achievements right now, so I had the opportunity to begin a relationship with Chuck Sirac really before all of this, but specifically with this about a year ago, and began to pitch this idea and ask him if he would get involved. And Chuck loves the Southeast side. He's going to be doing some amazing work on the Southeast side. And so it was pretty much an immediate yes. I was super nervous. I think I threw up a couple times in my mouth. But I got through it, and I don't know what I said, but he said, okay, let's do it. I said, okay. So what happened? So at any rate, so it's we're with that. Go back for me. So we have, I'm contracted with him now, Unified Developments is contracted with him now for the work that he's doing on the Southeast side as a consultant. And that's an amazing opportunity to have a front row seat of what's going on in development by one of the I believe, best developers. Obviously he does a lot more than that, but we get to be a part of that. And then partnership with Elevata, so all of the little bit of the renderings that you've seen in the slides, they have done all the work and honestly have been a godsend for what we're doing. They were the second group of people that I pitched to and immediately jumped on board and has been walking with me over the last year. Our milestones is secure identified properties. So we haven't talked a lot or showed you a lot of where things are specifically. It's because they're in the midst of negotiations and things of that nature. And so we are securing 2 specific properties right now that we believe that there's going to be some amazing work happening in the coming months. and then solidify infrastructure, which is advisors and community support. So continuing to go out and pursue those individuals that we believe can help us make this happen.
Before we make this ask, and I'll let you all guys get out of here, one of the things that I wanted to highlight about this particular opportunity is that, so everybody knows, you know, GE, the old GE building, it went up, everything is exciting, right? Well, the majority of us aren't going to get an opportunity to take part in the actual investment side of that project. So Unified Developments is in the process of, you know, speaking with lawyers and CPAs about making sure that the community itself is able to partake in these developments that you're looking at. So part of that capital stack will include crowdfunding and other opportunities for individuals that are not already accredited investors. So hey, some of you may already be investing in the real estate market. Hey, put some of that money in something that you can walk into and experience on your own. So.
And for those of you who are experienced in investing, you already know that there's SEC rules and things of that nature. We are well aware of that. We believe it's worth the risk to do some things that's different. We can't continue to go about this the same way and think that, oh, it's going to change this time. So there will be some drastic things, drastic measures that we partake in. So again, our ask is advisory team, and the $200,000 helps us through this infrastructure over the next 12 to 18 months. Helps us to be positioned to raise the funds that we need to raise, helps us to be positioned to hit this market the way that we should and need to. So, thank you for your time.